right. So it looks like there was 114 pounds of marijuana. I'm sorry?
140.
Oh, it's 140. Let me change that right away. That makes a big difference there.
Yeah, approximately 140.
All right. And so I have the name or the last name of the fellow arrested. Do you have his first name by any chance?
Yeah, it's spelled M-A-T.
T.
E-U-S-Z. Mateus or something like that. I don't know.
Okay. And
32 years old.
And he's 32 years old. Okay. And can you just give me a quick overview of what happened there?
Basically, pretty simple. He was stopped for speeding on Highway 115, traveling northbound. He was clocked going 136 kilometers an hour in the 100 zone. So just a simple traffic stop was conducted. And as the officer spoke with the driver, he observed 5 or 6 garbage bags of marijuana in the box of the pickup truck.
Okay. And so were they like the marijuana was kept inside like garbage bags, like actual dark garbage bags?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me write that one down. And could he smell the odor? Like, did he smell?
Yeah.
Oh, he smelled it. Okay. All right.
That much marijuana, it's gonna give off some odor.
Yeah, 140 pounds of it. Holy mackerel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of marijuana. So, when the officer pulled him over, just covering the legal aspects of this, so is it your opinion the officer made a legal determination on the road there that this, what's his last name again? Is it Naga? I'm sorry?
The officer's name?
No,
or the guy's name?
The guy's name.
Oh, the accused I don't know, his last name's Negadowski, I think.
Oh, Negadowski. Okay, so the officer that pulled him over, he made that legal determination right there that marijuana was against the law that this man violated the marijuana laws in Canada, and that they applied to him. Correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh.
You can only have 30 grams or under 30 grams in public, and obviously this guy had more than 30 grams.
Right, and so can you just bring me up to speed on, okay, so you're saying he's only allowed to have 30 grams of dried cannabis?
Yeah.
And that's according to?
To the Cannabis Act.
Oh, to the Cannabis Act, okay.
Yeah, under the Cannabis Act.
According to 30 grams is what they say one is allowed to have up there in Canada, correct?
Yeah, in public, yeah.
All right. Bear with me. Let me just write that down real quick. All right. And just to cover another legal base here. So the officer, when he pulled him over, he's making that legal determination at that point in time that the cannabis, what did you call it, the Cannabis Regulation Act?
Just the Cannabis Act.
Okay. He's making that legal determination at that stop that the Cannabis Act actually applies to this man, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And then, bear with me, what facts, if any, are available right now that the officer relies on to prove that Cannabis Act actually applies to that individual?
Well, just based on his training, right?
Oh, so he gets facts in training?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because it became legal mid-October in Canada, right? So we've all had training getting ready for this to come into effect. So
I see. So
the officer training, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do on this traffic stop.
Okay, yeah, okay, perfect. So you guys got facts in training. Would you be able to share those facts with me?
What facts?
The facts that prove the Cannabis Regulation Act applies to.
Well, all this still is going to court, right? So I really can't discuss too many
right, but
facts or any evidence or any along those lines.
Oh no, I'm not talking about the facts of if he was in possession of marijuana or not. But you said to me that the officer, when he pulled him over, he made a legal determination on the written instrument called the Cannabis Regulation Act actually applies to the man he pulled over, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So,
Yeah, under the Cannabis Act. Yeah.
right. So my next question then is just to cover all my bases here and get the story as crystal clear as possible. I just want to understand the facts that the officer relies on. So when he does pull the man over, the facts that he relies on that would prove that the Cannabis Regulation Act actually applies to that Canadian. Does that make sense?
Not really.
So you have
He's basically what he's relying on is the regulations in the act or the laws in the act and his training, which we've all underwent. Everybody from our civilian employees to the commissioner has underwent the same training in regards to cannabis when it became legal in mid-October.
Oh, I see. So is the officer relying on the fact that the law itself says it applies?
Oh yeah.
So
these are what the guy was charged with. These are laid right out in the Cannabis Act.
Excuse me, sorry. So
the criminal code has been amended to reflect the Cannabis Act, which came into effect mid-October.
Right. Okay. So
these are actually laws under the Cannabis Act that this guy
violated. Right. Okay. So now, so the fact that he's relying on is that the law itself says it applies.
Yeah, he's just following the rule of the criminal code, and what this guy was violating. Well, I shouldn't say all of them. I mean, speeding is obviously a Highway Traffic Act offense, but
right. Yeah. Absolutely. So, are there any other facts besides just what the law says, or is that the sole fact that the officer relies on when determining whether the law applies or not?
Well, I mean, he has discretion, which he can use on his own. But I mean, as far as we're concerned as police officers, the criminal code outlines everything we can do pretty much.
Okay, so
what we follow.
Right, yeah. So when police up in Canada are presented with a law, and your job's to enforce that law, right?
Correct.
So the question is, when you're presented with these newly written instruments called laws, do you guys ever ask the people that are giving you the duties of enforcing these laws what the facts are that prove those laws actually apply to folks?
Well, if we have any concerns or questions in regards to interpreting these laws, because they are fairly new, came in October, we always consult with the Crown Attorney.
And does the Crown Attorney ever present to you any facts proving that those written instruments actually apply to folks?
I don't get what you're getting at here. I mean, we follow the criminal code, and those are laid out pretty simple as.
Right, so you have human beings writing words on pieces of paper. They call it law, and now you're in charge of enforcing that law. So my question to you is, did you ever ask the politicians before enforcing those laws that, hey, if you're going to require us to enforce these laws, I just need to see facts proving that they actually apply before I go and apply them? Did you guys ever do that, or? Well,
I mean, the government has been in consultation with, all, police agencies all across the country before they brought in the Cannabis Act.
Right. And so in those consultations.
They've been talking about this for 2 years, right? So.
Right. So I guess my question is, during those consultations, did the politicians ever present to you guys facts? I mean, they are requiring you guys to go out there and actually enforce these laws against Canadians. And so my question is, did you guys ever just double check and make sure that, hey, their written instruments actually apply? Or are you just relying on the fact that it applies because the law says it applies?
Well, I'm a constable, right?
Right.
Well, I have to believe that the higher-ups from the commissioner or inspectors or superintendents have inquired about all this, and then it's passed down to, frontline officers.
Okay, so you're just relying and hoping that they have the facts and never actually went and asked for the facts, correct?
That's not correct. You're
That's,
putting words in my mouth here, and I'm not even sure where this questioning is going.
well, I'm just trying to make sure I cover all my bases on the legal side of things, trying to follow the.
I mean, we enforce the law, the criminal code, and that's basically what it comes down to.
Right. So, so the people that gave you the duty to enforce these laws, would they be able to present me the facts proving those laws actually apply to people?
What do you mean the facts that these laws actually apply to people? It's a criminal code. It's federal. It's the criminal code of Canada.
Sure, but I mean, you can call it whatever you want. It's a written instrument. How does it apply to people? What facts make it apply to people? What's the mechanism that makes a written instrument, written just by other human beings, what are the facts, the mechanism that makes that written instrument applicable to people? And we got to answer that question because we're actually putting hands on people and we're actually taking product from them, value away from them that they've either worked for or whatever.
Because the criminal code says this is the law, we enforce the law. If you want to ask other questions, you can ask, the government that, put these laws in place. We enforce them. We don't make the laws.
Right, but you guys are enforcing them without asking for the facts proving they're enforceable, legitimately. Correct?
That is not correct. I have no idea what you're getting at here.
Well, if I forced you to give up, I don't know, a car, right? I wanted to take your car, and I said, well, you drove whatever 2 miles an hour slower, and I have it written on a piece of paper that you can't drive 2 miles an hour slower. I'll take your car. If I take your car, it's theft. What's that?
It's not just a piece of paper. It's the criminal code of Canada.
Well, you can call a piece of paper whatever you want. The reality is, unless you have facts proving it applies to people, then the reality is you're just committing crimes against people.
I'm pretty sure I'm done with this conversation here. It's going nowhere. If you want to take up questions like that, you can contact the government who instituted these laws.
So just on a moral and ethical basis, don't you think it'd be wise for you that's in charge of enforcing these laws and is doing so willfully, don't you think it'd be wise before you put your hands on another human being that you turn around to the politicians and just say, hey, I'll be more than happy to enforce your laws, but can you please present to me the facts that can be placed into evidence that I can examine and prove that when I put my hands on another human being, it's legitimate? Wouldn't that be a moral and ethical thing to do?
You think they just came out like October 17th and said, here, this is what we're doing?
No, they've been talking about it for 2 years, but I haven't seen any facts proving it applies.
And we've been trained on it. We have so many computer programs and everything they've sent down to us, emails, training at headquarters.
Right. Well,
I don't know what more you want us to do.
Right. So the mob bosses, they train their heavies to go and extract and skim money off the businesses that are under their rule. I mean, what's the difference? Unless there's facts proving those laws apply, then why are you not the mafia just enforcing the mob boss's rules?
I think you're talking to the wrong guy here. I'm just Peterborough County, that's the media officer that just put out a media release. If you want to go above my head and talk to somebody about enforcing these laws and whether we can, then you're going to have to talk to somebody else.
Yeah, and I don't mean to pressure. I'm just trying to think critically here and cover all the bases and not just accept something as true unless I can see facts proving it's true. And I think we tend to.
Well, you can say that about anything in the criminal code then. So basically what you're saying is we don't have the right to enforce the criminal code or do anything?
Well, I think police were originally created to keep the peace in the community. But what police have actually become are heavies that enforce the rules and diktats against people that have committed or created no victim. And they're enforcing these diktats just because other human beings calling themselves politicians say to enforce these diktats. And so there's a disconnect.
I'm not engaging in this debate with you right now, so.
Well, it's not a debate. I'm just asking questions for facts.
Call it whatever you want, but.
Well, I'm not calling it anything. I don't know what it is.
Basically, we enforce the criminal code. That's what it comes down to. If you want to get into whether, we understand or whether we're allowed to do it or anything like that, you can take it up with somebody in government.
Right, and I understand that. All I'm doing is making an appeal to your empathetic side that when you do put your hands on another human being and, a peaceful human being that created no victim, just because maybe they were smoking a joint, maybe it'd be wise to think.
This guy was a little more than smoking a joint. He had 140 pounds of marijuana.
And was there a victim in the case?
What does it matter?
It matters a lot, because if there's not a victim in the case, then you're not serving and protecting the citizens. You're actually serving and protecting the wills of thugs running around calling themselves politicians.
I'm done with this conversation.
So, truth, fact, and logic, you're just going to ignore that and continue to get your share of the stolen loot that pads your paycheck and pension for the rest of your life.